Thank you very much for joining us at such a short notice. There are matters that we need to speak to. I am with Honorable Raphael Nakachinda, the Patriotic Front Secretary General. We are here to speak to two key issues. There's a matter regarding Honorable JJ Banda. You are aware that he was transferred from prison yesterday and arrived at hospital around 16:48. He underwent a medical procedure, and then the concerns surrounding those matters. And then we have another matter, a victim of police abuse, a Lusaka Endola businessman called Mr. Floyd Malembeka. Secretary General will be speaking to those two key issues. But let me start first with the communication that came from Mr. Clayson Hamasaka, where he announced that President Hakainde Hichilema has no intention to cause constitutional amendments that will affect the 5-year term to 7-year term. We are glad that the President has gone on record that they are not doing those amendments. However, we are very concerned because what we know from their caucus was that the reason they were pursuing the 9 seats, those 9 purported nullified seats, was that they wanted to create a majority in Parliament so that the UPND could effect whatever constitutional amendments they want to do. One of them is that they need to be able to lift the immunity of President Edgar Lungu whenever they decide to do, and they should have the numbers. Secondly, was that they want to remove 50+1. And thirdly, was that they wanted to extend the term of the president either from 5 to 7 years or to change it to remove the limit of 2-term limit to 4-term limit. Those were the issues that we understood came from that caucus. And we want the president to commit himself that the constitutional amendments he's doing will not be malicious, that the constitutional amendments that have to be done, like many stakeholders have said, may not be necessary. There's another matter that I'll come to discuss when we wind up the affairs. At this stage, I will invite Honorable Raphael Nakachinda to speak to the matter of Honorable JJ Banda. Honorable Nakachinda, JJ Banda was taken to hospital yesterday. He underwent a medical procedure. There are reports that his leg has been amputated. I want to put it very categorical. I've just spoken to authorities at Chipata General Hospital. There is no amputation. He was going through a medical procedure. It was okay, and he's beginning to recover. But there's no amputation of his legs that have occurred. But our concerns remain the same on JJ Banda. Honorable Raphael Nakachinda.
Chairman, information, thank you very much. And I want to say good afternoon or good evening to our viewers and listeners. Ambassador Mwamba is a diplomat trained to quote or use a language that sounds palatable to those who are hearing, including those who are affected and those who are perpetrators. I'm yet to undergo that training. But I think from my training, we are trained to present truths as they are. To even suggest that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema should undertake constitutional reforms that are not malicious is to give him a benefit of doubt. 3 years is too much a time for us to continue being shortchanged. You give him a benefit of doubt in the morning, he comes and does something else in the afternoon. His continued, lies, deceit, changing goalposts and hypocrisy, I think as we march towards the deadline of 3 years of them being in office, the benefit of a of him being given a benefit of doubt, he no longer exists. Misaka in the Ichirema had a caucus. His agenda is very clear. He wants to amend the constitution to advance personal interests, political interests. One, to stay in office against the will of the people of Zambia. If he can succeed to have a provisional constitution that gives him 7 years in office, he will do it. And that's what he wants to do. If it was to remove a term limit so that he can be in office as many times as he wants, he will do it. His greatest threat against staying in office clearly is Edgar Chagwa. If he had a way in which he can kill him without being discovered, he'll do it. For now, he's attempting by way of using either lawfare or indeed any other means, by way of, for example, now he has hatched a route that he wants to remove his immunity and possibly push an agenda that he be persecuted within 5 months and have him convicted on trumped-up charges. That is what he has schemed to do.
Yeah.
The caucus with members of parliament was centered around those issues. Not only the caucus with members of parliament, we are aware of also a caucus of some senior cabinet officers or ministers to which were given specific marching orders to say they should begin to engage members of parliament from the opposition, particularly Patriotic Front, so that they can be able to trade, particularly those who have been taken to court, having discovered that most of the cases they were alleging against these senior members of Patriotic Front basically have no legs to succeed in the courts. They are saying, can you move in quickly and trade with them? Let them vote with us, we'll let them off the hook. If this is a man who was advancing the rule of law and seeking for justice on behalf of the Zambian people, he would not be scheming in the manner that he's scheming. So the issue of the amendment of the Constitution is important that the Zambian people see it for what it is. There is what he himself said, imingarato, meaning deceive the masses while you are doing something else. And if we try to be diplomatic about this issue, because these people are heartless, the Zambian people continuously be skating around thinking that maybe at some point you realize they need to do the right thing. It is a scheme to advance evil. Just the same way they're advancing the scheme of introducing, LGBT and all these, values. In one vein, he goes to church and says, I'm an elder, I don't believe in these things. But they have sponsored a group of people to go to the Concord to try and find that as a window in which they can introduce these very abominable practices in this republic. So let's not take these people for what they say, because whatever they say actually is calculated towards deceit. It's not calculated towards advancing what is actually on the table. Coming to JJ, first and foremost, Zambians must find the sentiments of Hamasaka, both on his private Facebook, as well as the communication he channeled out on behalf of the president, to be out of order. He himself is conflicted to comment on JJ. He did say, no, the former president should not have said what he said. It's not up to him. He is alleged, mentioned, and there are even documents in court that is among those that abducted JJ. What he's still doing in State House, we still can't understand. But we know that in the whole scheme, the agenda was to abduct JJ and eliminate him. It didn't work because of the outcry of the Zambian people. And the heroes here are those who were brave enough, like Munia Zulu, Mavonga, Edith Nawakwi, and others who spoke strongly on behalf of the Zambians against that barbaric act. JJ was found alive. But immediately it moved from these individuals that were mentioned to the state being the ones that have abducted him with a clear agenda to have this person killed. What is happening to JJ is an expose of the fact that the life of JJ is under threat. They want this person, if it was possible, for him to basically never exist, because his existence threatens the exposure of what really transpired at the time that he was abducted. JJ will not be the one that should have been in jail. JJ should have been outside, and those that were mentioned in the abduction should have been the ones in Chipata, in prison, and not JJ. And we call upon the Zambian people, watch these criminal activities that are all centered around UPND top officials. The only unfortunate thing is that most of them are found around the circle of the president. The Deputy IG, Myambango, is reported to have gone to Copperbelt, identified a Zambian businessman who has a contract with foreigners and a dealership as a consultant to be able to supply agricultural equipment, including tractors. He went and negotiated against the policy of the company, according to the reports, against the policies of the company, to get a tractor on hire purchase. After I got a tractor on hire purchase, the reports show that he decided he will not pay. And in having the gentleman by the name of Freud Manembeka, who's the consultant, demanding for payment because he was at the center of negotiations, he chose to abuse his office. That Freud Manembeka was arrested because he went to complain to higher authorities. He wrote a letter to the president. He wrote a letter to the IG. He reported to other wings of government law enforcement agencies over the criminal conduct of the deputy IG by the name of Myambango. What has Myambango done? For the past 4 months, this gentleman has suffered abuse and brutality and detention without any ground whatsoever, whether it's a warrant of detention or any such law that would get somebody be in detention. Myambango went and tried to connive with the suppliers of tractors to this gentleman's account, company, alleging that this person is involved in criminal activities and you never pay. They came in Zambia and discovered such things actually don't exist, but by that time Freud had already been arrested, not because somebody complained, but arrested because police officers were being directed by the deputy IG to pick the gentleman. Copperbelt, we are aware that Copperbelt Command, when they investigated, they said there's nothing wrong that Freud Manembeka has done. We are also aware that one of the conflicts that arose between the then director of criminal investigation, Mr. Yui, and Mr. Myambango was on the basis that Mr. Yui did not agree with Mr. Myambango abusing his authority in victimizing an individual who was a victim to his failure and refusal to pay for the goods that he got. Even the transfers that were influenced within the police service, some of them are victims of this abuse of office. As Patriotic Front, we are saying these criminal activities undertaken by high-ranking police officers should not be tolerated. As we speak now, Floyd Malembeka is unwell and his life is under threat at Lusaka Central Police, because when he was granted bail here in Lusaka, Mr. Muyambago decided to instruct junior officers whose names are known to pick him and take him and detain him in Karomo for 3 weeks without him being presented to court. When he was presented to court, he applied for bail, and when he was granted bail, just at the point of him fulfilling bail conditions, police officers went and presented false information to the court in Karomo that Floyd has a bench warrant in Ndola. And they picked him, took him to Ndola. The question we are asking, why didn't the court in Karomo demand that the officers who were to execute that warrant, why were they not in court to present evidence of the fact that there is a bench warrant? But the police picked a person who was under the jurisdiction of the court to go to Ndola. And when he went to Ndola, the court in Ndola, before Magistrate Makalicha, did pronounce that there was no such a thing as a bench warrant. Instead of the gentleman being released, he was kept in Ndola in a prison for another 3 weeks, and only picked during the night to bring him the day before yesterday in Lusaka to be presented before the Magistrate Court here at Chibwiri. A total abuse of office. And we are also aware of the fact that personally, I had a personal experience of confidence of Muyambago, some of them who are serving in his office as his assistants and some of his confidants, coming to prison to offer Floyd that if you want your problems to end, just write a formal apology to me and clear my name, then I'll drop off these charges. Misaka in the HLM. How can you be harboring these criminals in the name of high-ranking officers, either in the police or otherwise, and you keep on tolerating this? We have Masebo conduct, found implicated in such huge scandals that have led to the death of thousands of people because of lack of medicine in hospital. All you can do is to transfer them. A citizen is being abused by your deputy IG, and what you can do is to keep them and watch. And it's not that you are not aware. You were briefed. Home Affairs Minister is aware. This government, the appetite to tolerate criminality only speaks to the fact that it is a government that is rotten from top to bottom. People's lives are under a threat. The same way they have threatened the masses of this country by subjecting them to abject poverty, by having sold all the maize that were in the reserves, our staple food that were in the reserve, so that people can be desperate, hoping that through this hunger and poverty, they can then manipulate the citizens to advance their agenda. But Zambians, let's wake up. It's better to have fun and sana, but we are right. It's better we go hungry and not allow these people to blackmail us through the hunger they have imposed on us, and we need to get rid of them. Vanena tubuke, let's wake up. Let's arise and be able to get this criminal government out of office in 2026 and be able to save ourselves of this anguish and bring back a government that will adhere to the rule of law and root out every form of corruption and criminality and get ourselves moving on the right path. Thank you very much, Chairman. Information.
Thank you, SG. I might call you back a bit. You've heard the SG make very clear demands on the issue of JJ Banda. He must be released, and the named abductors must be arrested. It shouldn't be the other way. And then there is a sad case of Floyd Malembeka, a mere businessman who supplied a tractor worth 220,000 kwacha to the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mr. Muyambago, then who has proceeded to abuse his office to keep this young man.
400 actually. He paid 220.
Yeah. The documents are there to the extent that Mr. Muyambago hired a law firm run by the Minister of Home Affairs, and the JCC member, Mr. Chad Mleza, is called Mleza Mwimba Associates or Advocates. We have seen the communications and the complaint by the businessman, a letter to the president, a letter to the SEC, and a letter to the Police and Public Complaints Commission, that the police officer, in this case, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, is abusing his office, and he has kept this young man in detention, this businessman. The reason the SG is speaking to this matter is that Floyd has been refused access to medical treatment. When he appeared in court the other day, Honorable Davis Chiwili, the Chief Resident Magistrate, refused to sign a warrant. He said this gentleman is on bail. Why should he go to prison? So they've kept him at Lusaka Central Police Station, where he has fallen very ill. And hence, I think other than that, these people in high authorities are abusing their power. It's imperative that Floyd is allowed to seek medical treatment, and the abuse by the Deputy Inspector General of Police must come to an end. We've seen all the correspondence, including his legal suit of defamation, where he's alleging that Floyd is defaming him. And you've seen it appears to be a pattern. Dr. Kaba spoke, someone sued him that he was defaming him. JJ spoke, we saw someone sue JJ for telling the truth. It appears it's an established pattern. When you bring credible allegations against these office holders, they rush to court that you are defaming them. The matter that SG, I think, may also need to speak to, you are aware of our members of parliament, Kawambwa MP, who's our Deputy Secretary General, Honorable Nixon Chilangwa, Pambashe MP, Honorable Ronald Kaumachitotela, Kawambwa Council Chairperson, Mr. Kalumba Chifumba, remain in jail. They were, jailed over a matter that arose in 2021 that they maliciously damaged a UPND vehicle. And SG, this brings me to a matter. Our MP, Lucas Simumba from Nakonde, his lodge, which was a campaign center, was burnt to ashes in August 2021. His vehicle, the campaign vehicle, the 4x4 Land Cruiser, was burnt, and the culprits are known and identified. They were reported to the police. The police have never done any of either prosecuting or arresting these perpetrators who burnt down a lodge and who burnt down Lucas Simumba's vehicle in Nakonde. Another matter, SG, is you must have seen a flyer and the comment by President Hakainde Hichilema that my wife and I will donate to the people of Zambia the 5 million meant to the president's retirement house. This is literally mischief. Number one, the president is not former president. The benefits are to the former president. He's not former president. Number two, the former president's Benefits Act of 1993 does spell out the benefits that the former president is entitled to if he were to become former president. There's no cash involved there is no 5 million. I don't know how they came up to this 5 million. They could be referring to a matter of President Rupia Banda, where he proceeded to build his house and demanded refund. What must be made very clear is that there is no cash available. The law says they'll build the former president a house. So they have to identify the land and build him. You can't convert that into cash. Then thirdly, there's a queue. You still haven't built the house for former President Frederick Chiluba. You still haven't built a house for Levi Patrick Mwanawasa. You still haven't built a house for Michael Sata. You still haven't built a house for Edgar Lungu. Now you're talking about you accessing this money and paying it out. You can't jump the queue. Fulfill the obligations as provided for in the former President's Benefits Act of 1993 and fulfill these conditions to the former presidents, whether they are alive or dead, before you can jump and begin to celebrate on this matter. On the matter of Honorable Nixon Chilango and Honorable Kauma Chitotela, and the council chairperson, Mr. Karumba Chifumbe. Do we have an update? I think there's been anxiety about our people.
Maybe before we talk about the update, of course we're pursuing all applications. We know the schemes around trying to delay these processes so that they can declare the seats, declare that
they can go for elections.
There could be by-elections. But I think the pattern is what the Zambian people must continue to be reminded and follow.
Yeah.
We had our provincial chairman, Kungo, killed. Yeah. Those who committed that heinous and capital offense have gone unpunished because of UPND. There were people that were killed in Western Province. People who committed those offenses because of UPND were never brought to book. The same thing that is happening to those who are mentioned in the abduction of JJ. There were people that were killed, PF members were killed in Kanyama here. Up to today, perpetrators were never brought to book. Those who committed directly arson against the properties by burning the properties of the Member of Parliament for Nakonde, his lodge, his vehicles, and so on, who are known, up to today they are walking the streets free. So as far as the UPND are concerned, the law must apply against their political opponent. Yeah. Actually, even in applying the law, mostly it is to do with implicating opponents of having committed the crimes, and then they use them as a way of laundering themselves. So Nixon Chilangwa, Chitotela, based on the evidence adduced in court, clearly you can see that this was perpetrated by UPND, but they conveniently got his MPs, indicted them, and look at how we have described how this whole thing has gone. How the magistrate was found in compromising arrangement, including records that audios that came out. And what came out of those audios, the promised promotion, has since been executed. He's in Rwanda based on what was determined.
What was available in the recording?
In the recordings. So, but it is all meant to cover up incidents like the one in Nakonde and try and continue fueling this narrative that the criminal political organization in this country is PF, when in fact not. The criminal organization we have is the UPND. And their criminality in opposition, now they have amplified it, they are executing it in government. And that's why we're warning the Zambian people, examining political parties and politicians when they are in opposition. What they do in opposition will just get amplified when they're in government. The criminality of the UPND in opposition is now, amplified in government. And that's what we're faced with. The only cure is not to explain and try to convince each other. The cure to get rid of this criminality is to arm ourselves with the vote. Let the Zambian people, regardless of the mingarat of having people being registered secretly in Western Province, Northwestern Province, and Southern Province, and getting people to spend days in the bush registering both young and old, so that they can up the numbers in those areas for purposes of wanting to rig elections. Now they are crying out that have not even been paid their allowances. All that mingarato can only be subdued.
They are sleeping in classrooms.
And sleeping in classrooms can only be subdued by all of us arising with disdain against criminality and get rid of those who are perpetuating criminality, which is the UPND in government.
Yeah. The SG referred to 2 youths that were killed in Kawama just before elections. Sometimes we need to name so people remember. The 2 youths that were killed on 1st August, 12 days before elections, are Davis Kawunda and Gift Kasongo. In fact, Davis was married and left behind a child and a wife, and Gift was also married and left behind 6 children. So Davis Kabunda and Gift Kasongo are your youths that died in Kanyama. And the property that was destroyed in Nakonde belongs to Honorable Lucas Simumba, who's our MP for Nakonde. His vehicle was burnt just after elections. A brand new Land Cruiser pickup burnt to ashes. And the lodge that was a campaign center, his campaign center in Nakonde, was burnt to ashes. And the persons who did this are known in Nakonde, and nothing has ever happened. But look at, as SG alluded to, what has happened. We thought we could come to you with those very key issues. One, the communication from State House with President Hakainde Hichilema pledging that you adhere to the Constitution and that you will not amend the Constitution. You've heard the SG's position, is that in fact Zambians are calling for early elections. Why do you want to go for 7 years? And that you cannot be relied on other pledges and commitments you've made. How do we believe that what you are saying, you will adhere to it? He warns that we should be very, very alert because there are malicious constitutional amendments that they are cooking and brewing. We've given you the scenario of Honorable JJ Banda where the demands are made very clear. Number one, that JJ should be released forthwith. The prosecution is malicious and is covering up to the abduction. And, we have called, for those that have been mentioned, named by JJ Banda, especially with the records in court, that they should be picked up and prosecuted for that abduction as stated. We have just updated you on the matters regarding our members of parliament and council chairperson and others that are detained in Kawambwa, and the issues I think that we've talked about where the president is bragging that he will give his 5 million kwacha that is entitled to him to build a house to the Zambians. No, Bane. The former President Benefits Act is very clear. And number 2, there is a queue. Tamula kulenga ndayaba Chiruba. Tamula kulenga ndayaba Mwanawasa. Tamula kulenga ndayaba Michael Sata. Arabi was lucky, he was forceful, and he got his house done. Tamula kulenga ndayaba Edgar Lungu. So how are you talking about this house? With those few words, we wish to SG. Do you have any closing remarks?
Thank you very much.
Okay. My combative SG says he has nothing to say as he's delivered his speech. So we wish you a happy holiday. We recognize that we are observing this holiday. To our farmers, we wish you well. It's been a difficult year for you, especially with the drought occasioned by natural disaster, but also by careless policy of the New Dawn government. We welcome the president from Burundi, His Excellency, who is visiting our country. We hope that he finds it well to be in Zambia. So happy holiday. Until we have something to say to you, God bless you.